Hello. Okay, so today we are using charcoal pencils. May told me that everybody should have this one. So I'm just using this one. It's the General's charcoal pencil, and I'm using a white one as well.
They have the same one, General also.
Yeah, the same one. Okay, great. So today we're just creating a still life. It will be this vase. We'll see what we have time to do. I think we can finish this one. Maybe we can even start another one because this is with charcoal usually work is faster. So for today, you will need these, maybe an eraser, maybe yes, no, if you want. I usually don't use this, but if you want a kneadable eraser or a regular eraser, and also
they all have the kneadable eraser.
Oh, great. Then you guys will also need something to smudge your line. So I'm using this thing. You can use a Kleenex or toilet paper even, or a paper towel. And what you do is you just fold it into a triangle. So I make it really small. First, I make it into a square like this. Okay, and then I will make one of the edges into like a triangle. So you can use that as blending tip. Right? So it's relatively firm. If you make a smaller square and then you fold your paper, it will be a little bit harder. So you want it to be a little bit harder and not soft. So you can use it as a blending tip. This is really helpful instead of using your fingers. For charcoal, I like to blend it. And then as well, I have a larger one. You don't need these things. This is you can just use a Kleenex. Okay, so I'll give everybody a minute to just get their stuff. You ran away. Come back. Oh, you can also use a Q-tip if you have that.
Yep.
That works. Okay.
I just want to say something in Chinese. 今日係用嗰個炭筆嘅，你哋個個好似有賣咗㗎啦。嗰個炭筆，嗰個黑色同白色嘅筆。如果邊一個冇嘅咧，你同我講，我屋企仲有。OK。
我攞咗兩支嘅都。
OK， Okay, if everybody is just about ready, we can get started with our sketch. So for this one, you can use pencil to create your initial sketch, or you can just use these. You can just use the charcoal. For me, I will be using this chunk of willow charcoal I found in my box that I need to get rid of. So you don't need this by any means. It's just it's a very light charcoal. So the first thing I will do is landmark my page. So I know how large I want this thing to be. So I will draw a mark at the top, about here, and then another mark at the bottom. Okay, something like that. So that's how I know this is how long my object will be. And then from there, I can sketch out the general shape of this thing. It's about, let's landmark how wide it will be. So the tops, something like that, and the side will be like, maybe like that, maybe a little bit wider. We'll see. We'll see how you guys are feeling. And from there, you can start to sketch the shape. So if it helps, you can create construction lines. Later on, it shows the roundness of the object. It helps with shading. So we'll do that in a second. The top is like an oval. So something like that. And then okay, and then I'll bring the line down. This thing is a lot longer. Oh, there's a fly in my house. Okay, and then there's a circle inside that circle. So what ends up happening with this shape is this chunk at the top, when you're drawing the inner circle, this part actually is smaller because it's further away. So pay attention to that. And this part right here, this part is a little bit longer. It's almost, on my page, almost double the size, but it could be a little less obvious than that. Okay, so immediately I think I should have put this higher, but it's okay. Then we'll draw the shape of the base. You can alter it however you like. It doesn't have to be like a perfect curve. You can make it skinnier or fatter, whatever you want. Okay, and this one on the picture is actually, it is fatter on the bottom, but I want to create my face like this, almost like a light bulb. I think this is interesting. And for the bottom is almost a curved circular shape. So the bottom is not like a line, it's just curves this way because of the perspective. So once you get something like that, you can create the sides. Again, you can adjust it. Sides are just 2 bumps, and then the handle. Okay, and then from here, I will make a couple of construction lines. One about halfway through the vase or container. I'm not quite sure what this is. It looks like the thing you use to preserve vegetables. Okay, and then another line about, so you have one halfway here and you create another one. Like if this was one piece, you split that in half and create another one there. Again, follow the curved shape of the object. And you can add a shadow. So cast a shadow in the back. It's kind of like something like that. It's just a curved shape. It doesn't have to be very well defined. Okay, once I have my vase outline finished, so this one should be very quick. You just do it quickly. It doesn't have to be super precise. From here, what I usually do for still lifes is pick out the highlight areas if they're super obvious. Usually you always start with the darkest part, but it's good to know where your highlights are so you don't touch those. So on this object, there's one here in the middle, somewhere along there. And these skinnier ones are hard to add down, but you just note it in your head. You know that there's a highlight there. Just know where they are. And there is one on this side. Somewhere over here. So your initial sketch, the faster you do it, usually the better, because what happens is we start to overthink what we're seeing instead of drawing what we're seeing. So when you're creating drawings from life, you sketch the shape down very fast and refine it later, instead of spending like 30 minutes on the initial sketch. You want to just quickly note down what you perceive. Look at the object, look at your drawing, and just have the general shape. Okay, once we're done our general outline of the shape, you can grab either or whichever pencil you have. It doesn't really matter. And with that, start to shade in the darkest areas. trying to follow the curve of the shape. Don't worry about the cross hatching part now. Just start to fill in this area. So the darkest areas on this thing, there's quite a lot of ground to cover, depending on how large you're drawing. When you're looking at the side of the object, there is a strip right here that is actually lighter than the rest of the object. And this is true for many objects. And the reason why is because the light refracts off the bottom of the table. So when you're drawing this area on the very side, there's actually a strip of light there almost. So keep that in mind. For me, I realized this after I started shading, so I will just make everything else darker. Okay, and there's a highlight right here. So this part can be done quite lightly. Or you can leave it for later. When you start to blend everything, you can add that area in later if you like. But the rest of this, my pencil is dying. Okay. Oh, I should have started on this side of the page, actually. That would have made more sense because now I will smear everything as I work this way. It's okay, it's not the biggest deal. Okay, once you get to the center of the pot, it gets a little bit lighter in value in the middle. So just use less pressure. And then when you get to the side right here, it gets a little bit darker again. And there is a strip of light somewhere over here. There is also a highlight up here, which we can also go in with the white later. But if you leave it now, it makes your life a little bit easier later. And there is also a strip of white at the top where the lip of the vase meets the body of it. If you put a Kleenex or paper towel down on where you're working, your hand will not smear it as badly. The paper towel doesn't pick the pigment up as well as your hand. Ah, my pencil broke. Okay, so that part is like a sketched out. Later we'll go in, blend everything up. Now I'm going to do the handles and this thing. So with the handles, the center is the darkest. On this side, there doesn't seem to be much variation in color or tone or anything. It's just the handle. So we're filling the space. It's almost like a round cat ear. So it's like a triangular round. And then from there, this handle has a little bit of more subtle differences. So up here, okay, and so the curve right here is a little bit lighter. And we'll be going in with white later. Okay, after this one, you can move on to either of these. It doesn't really matter. I think I'll do the top. So with the top, the center right here, it doesn't have very much variation either. So this part is just dark. It's the same as this one. Okay, and then I will add some pigment to this area. I'm going to leave the top alone for now because it's quite light. And when we start blending, I think it will be covered anyways. Okay, for this one, it should be following the curve of the object, but my hand is at a really weird, awkward angle, so I'll go up and down. But for everyone else, please try to follow the curve of this thing. Okay. This part can be covered. And when you're finished that, you can start to work on the other handle. I will try to make mine symmetrical to the other one I already drew. So this one, you can note that there's almost a prominent highlight and it touches right here. Okay, that is more or less the same. Let's create the rest of the handle. I have so many confusing construction lines here. I'm actually going to erase some of these so it's easier for everyone to see what I'm doing. Okay, so this thing is almost split into two sections. Something like that. It won't be exactly the same as the other one because the perspective is not actually front on. This one is slightly off to the side. And there's a huge highlight along this line, this middle line. So it's dark at the bottom. It gets slightly lighter up here, but it's still very dark. Okay. And we'll just leave the top part alone for now. Okay, for everyone who's done the top half, you can just lightly shade in this area. I think the cross hatching for charcoal is not as important because everything tends to get blended together anyways. So I wouldn't worry too much about the cross hatching here. For this shape, there is a spot that's darker in the middle, and the shape kind of extends over here. And this side is darker. So you can take that and drag it down. This is so wonky. Oh, there we go. I really like working with this media because it allows you to cover a lot of ground very quickly. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to lightly kind of create a couple of lines down this side. So it's very light. And the shape kind of curves over like this. Oh, it's construction line. I'll get rid of that. And with this bottom shape, you can add a little bit of shading to half it. Just like that for now. Can return to this area later, but I want to put the shadow down. So the shadow is the darkest near the object, and then it becomes less dark as we move away. So following the shape of the object, I will create a shadow. Will get lighter as I move away. So you end up with something like that. You can return to it later and make adjustments. Now I'll do some cross hatching because I want to fill in the hole. And I kind of like, in his original picture, I like the fabric folds, so I'm going to add that into there. It's completely unnecessary, but it's kind of interesting. You don't have to add that. And I also want to add in a bit of a background because this looks too empty to me. And you also don't have to do this, but draw a line, something like that. So later I'm going to lightly shade a top for this. This is just too blank. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm sketching in just like the barest indication of the fabric that this thing sits on, which you can barely see in the book actually, but you don't have to do that. I just think the lines are a little more interesting this way. Keep in mind that I can't actually see it very well, so I'm just kind of making this part up as I go. Okay, now that I've added some interesting texture, I don't even know what's going on here. I will go ahead and start the fun part, which is actually blending everything. I can add some more here actually. Okay, so with your blending stump or Kleenex or whatever you have at hand, you can actually start you just blend it like that to fill in the holes. Start with the dark part first, and you can go from there. This part is actually it's really fun because you can use the blending stump now as almost a drawing tool, because now it's picked up the pigment, so you can actually put it somewhere else.
I think they need a few minutes to catch up with the drawing.
Okay, we'll give some time. Sorry, I move very fast with this stuff. I think I'm moving too fast. So while everyone's working, I'm just fixing the outline a little bit. Mine is the bottom is not very even. Okay, I will continue with the blending process. And if anybody needs more time, please let me know. So this one, if you feel like you want to keep some areas rough for the texture or for whatever purpose, you can actually just leave it as is. Okay, so let's go into this. Remember those highlight areas that we left blank before? You can go in now and do that with your blending nub. Just one sweep over and it should cover the surface. So I would like everyone to make this shape a little blurry on the outside. So what you can actually do is just kind of create a square so that the edges of the shadow are just a little bit blurred out. My shape is not long enough. Make it longer. Okay. Once you're done, you can move on to the side. Again, with your highlight, one sweep over. You might need to go back and actually darken some areas like this middle bit right here, or wherever you feel needs more pigment. So you can actually steal some color from up here and then deposit it back down here. Okay, once you're finished blending this area out, you can move on to, I'm actually gonna get a new Kleenex. My Kleenex has turned to mush, so now I need a new one. Okay, now this top part and the handles. Try to leave your highlighted areas still very light and kind of just touch the top over here very lightly. You just have to tap it almost. We'll clean up the edge and do the same for the other side. Oh. This one doesn't actually exist. This is not very light, actually. I think I made this highlight up in my head. Okay, you repeat the process for the other side. So you blend it in and then you just gently cover the white part. And then fix up the shape. Oh, my highlight didn't come through here. I think I accidentally covered it. Okay, and then we can move on to the top portion. Oh, what happened? There we go. Top portion, same process. Blend out the top. And keeping in mind that there's a highlight there, you just gently create a top. Cool. And over here, remember we can go back later and make the lines a little more crisp with the pencil. But from there, you just have to blend out the rest of this thing. Oh, wait, for some reason, my line is so dark here. Get rid of that. There we go. And with this, you can start dragging the pigment into this bottom white section. Almost working in like a circular motion. Okay, once you guys are done with blending everything, you can add a bit of a background. So all that is you just take your little stump and you can just fill in the back. I think I need more. So that's your optional step, is to create a background. And what you can also do, this is a slower process, but you can go in and make your lines sharper. So you can go along the edges. And what you can also do is add in those cross-hatching lines if you would like to. This is not pencil. So I don't know if the camera is picking up on that, but all I'm doing now is just adding in. I'm just adding in lines here because I enjoy this stylistic look.
Are you able to zoom in first to see if the lines are visible? Oh yeah, I'll bring it closer.
Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit hard to see, but all I'm
Yeah,
doing
it
is drawing in lines.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, it doesn't make too much of a difference on camera, but in real life, you can see them. I know some people will use their fingers when they're trying to blend this, but it doesn't work as well, in my opinion, because your fingers have oils and stuff in them, and it just doesn't smear as well. So the rest of this is up to you. If you want to add more texture, you can add more texture. Okay, so I will darken my background. And then, actually, you know what? I think we'll add our white highlights first. So for everyone who is clumsy like I am and accidentally missed some of their highlights, or you accidentally cover them, then you can go back with your white pencil and brighten up some of those areas. But if you're not clumsy, then you won't need to do this. You can also use the white to add in lines or texture. Like, I'm not sure if that's visible on camera, but I'm just adding in white lines along the top. And over here, there's a bit of a white highlight. And then I'm going to go in and darken my background while everybody adds to the drawing. Okay, so we are just about finished for today. If you want to show your work, you can turn your camera on.